Today I will tell the story of a mysterious monastery. The story takes place in Thailand. In the underground palace of a monastery, a half-human and half-ghost thing was sealed with a sarcophagus and iron chains. This matter was told by a classmate of mine. Or a classmate who was mixed in the underworld. Yes, you read it right, it's just a gangster, the kind of young social man with a big gold chain and a small watch with a green dragon and a white tiger tattooed on his back, slashing and killing. As I said before, I grew up on the shores of Weishan Lake, which is at the junction of Sulu, Hunan and Anhui. The folk style is fierce, heavy martial arts and light literature, mixed fish and dragons, and reckless. It is a place full of rivers and lakes. How many rivers and lakes are there among the locals? Let me give you an example. When I was in elementary school, in the summer, after the children had finished their lunch, they went to the lake to play, tie sticks, catch fish, and dig crayfish. Adults didn't care as long as someone does not come to class for 2 consecutive days. 80% of them will drown. After 2 days, his parents will come to take away the school bag and burn it on the shore. When they were burning paper by the lake, the little doll continued to play in the lake. Everyone felt that it was nothing. And there was an inattentive sense of detachment from life. I almost drowned several times. Once it was particularly dangerous. I sank into a deep pit, tumbled in the water, and drank desperately. Later, I had hallucinations. I felt that I was under the dark water. There is a patio-sized place on it, exuding dazzling white light, calling me over. I knew I was going to die, and I was not afraid in my heart. I just thought of how sad my mother would be when she found out that I was dead. I felt a little guilty about her. At this moment, a passing fisherman saw my floating hair. It is said that I was too beautiful when I was a child, so I was afraid of being stolen. So I kept my long hair and pretended to be a little girl to raise it, and brought it up for me. In addition to drowning, many people were killed in fights. The locals have a strong temper and are so brave and ruthless. If they don't agree with each other, they have to get started. If they get started, they are not serious, and they often die, especially in the Lake District. The local people are called cats. They fight the most fiercely. They often use harpoons to do it. At that time, a good friend of mine was a cat. He often went out to fight, but was blinded in one eye. I haven't had a fight, but once everyone learned martial arts, someone showed me how to hit a straight punch. But it was confiscated and broke the bridge of my nose. The bridge of my nose was very straight when I was a child, but now it collapsed. But these are ordinary things, not worth mentioning. I once mentioned it to my wife. She thought it was incredible. What the hell is this place? How can this kind of place survive? Also, because of the character of the locals, the hottest school over there was not a champion high school, but a martial arts school. Many children went to the martial arts school after they reached the 3rd grade of elementary school and knew a few words. Every morning, I drag my school bag to school, and I see hundreds, even thousands, of people, all children, naked, wearing apricot yellow pants and a red cloth belt, running along the lake, singing while running, singing men should be self-improvement - let the sea and the sky gather energy for me. To open up the world, and to break through for my ideals, followed by a drunk brother, riding a bicycle, holding a whip and beating those children who are running slowly. When I was a kid, I was quite envious of them. I felt that they didn't have to do homework or study. They practiced martial arts and boxing every day. They were very prestigious. No one dared to bully them. The martial arts hall is very dignified. If you want to bully a student, a school will go to find you a field, which often leads to super large-scale group incidents. My father admires the happy life of this kind of people in the rivers and lakes. He really wants to train me into a person in the rivers and lakes so that he can inherit his mantle. He also collected many people from the rivers and lakes to be masters. But I have been sickly since I was a child. He is a weak scholar, and he is indeed not interested in martial arts. My mother is very relieved. She likes that kind of talented character the most. She feels that martial arts is nothing to learn and nothing to do. In the future, she will be a street gangster. If you mix well, you will be a teacher, learn from Lin Chong to Liang Shan, and if you mix badly, you will go to jail and eat guns. Of course my mother is a bit prejudiced when she says this, but what can people from the Martial Arts Museum do? They generally have several ways out. To go the right way is to play a game. Martial arts is big and you have won a championship. Some can be specially recruited as armed police, or join the army as special forces. This is the right way. But it is rare more people went to Guangdong and Hong Kong to work as bodyguards for big bosses, or directly mixed in the underworld. Of course, some will have some special ways out. For example, I know one. I was attracted by a coach back then, joined a foreign nationality, represented that country in the triathlon, and won a good ranking. However, this kind of thing is relatively rare, and it belongs to the non-mainstream. I have also been fascinated by martial arts for a while. Back then, my uncle and grandfather were the secretary of the county party committee. His youngest son was in the Public Security Bureau. He was a gangster. He liked me very much and often took me out to play. Once, when we were eating out, I asked him, "Which martial arts teacher has the highest kung fu?" He called the owner of the largest local martial arts museum and a local legend. The owner of the martial arts museum was very polite to him, first toasted him, and then toasted me, respectfully. He asked the curator to show me his hand to see if he had any effort. The curator said at the time that the place here is too small to use his fists and feet. Well, I'll just do whatever I want to make the young master happy. He asked the waiter to pick up 3 embroidery needles. And then got a small mirror, the kind of small slap-sized mirror, and put it aside. Then he twisted 3 needles and threw them suddenly. The 3 needles plunged into the mirror. I was very fascinated by this trick at the time, so I practiced hard at home, pinching one and throwing it at the door. This trick is not that difficult. The trick is to let the flying needle go in a straight line, and then slowly increase the strength. I could pinch the needle upside down and throw it firmly on the wooden door 2 meters away. However, the door panel is an entry level, and as for the glass, I haven't practiced it before, so it must be difficult. I had a classmate at the time. He didn't look up to me very much. He thought it was all fancy. He got a sharpening stone and sharpened his knife under the desk all day long. It is said that it is a knife, but it is actually a small saw blade. The saw blade is ground extremely thin, like an extremely fast knife, and it is wrapped in a thick layer of tape. It is said that this kind of stabbing can't kill people, but the deterrent is very strong. He has been to a martial arts school for a few years and has practiced kung fu for a while. He taught me side flips and harrier turns. A few years ago, I occasionally gave 3,000 performances. But now I can't do it anymore. My old arms and legs are easy to sprain. This classmate's surname is Tsong and his name is Tsong Lin. He was a big brother-like figure in school back then. He was very loyal, did things fairly, and worked hard under him. Soon he had a group of younger brothers. Walking on the street, people half the street greeted him, very panache. I was actually an honest kid back then. I just played football and wrote every day. I didn't go to class much. I didn't even know a few of my classmates, but my girlfriend at the time was the school flower. Many people, hearing that the famous flower has a master, want to come over and see what this master is like. By the way, they beat him up and were very annoyed. So I was in constant trouble back then, but fortunately, I had a good relationship with the jungle, and he helped me settle it every time, so it didn't matter. Why does he have a good relationship with me? Now that I think about it, it's a bit strange. Maybe because I'm like a dog-headed military division, I can help him make suggestions, or because he respects literati and thinks I'm a talent. This is not clear. Anyway, we had a good relationship back then. We were renting an apartment outside the school at the time. We often drank all night. When we drank too much, we felt uncomfortable in our stomachs and uncomfortable in our hearts. Thinking about our bad studies and confused future, we felt very frightened and depressed, so we went out to smoke and chat by the river. I forgot what I was talking about at that time. It should be more about teenagers. They are ignorant of youth. If they are fluttering, they all drift away with the wind, and occasionally they talk about their dreams. I told him that my dream is to be a great writer like Lucien. I work as a professor in a university during the day and write at night. When I am free, I brag with students and fight with some boring literati. It's very interesting to think about it. Now if you think about what's interesting, it's better to be a fisherman. Interesting. I originally thought that his dream would be to become a gangster, similar to Chen Haonan, but he didn't expect him to say that his dream is to buy a big house in the county seat, and it is best to get a SM.